Hey everybody, welcome to the Say Report. This is Siege and Sarwick, and of course my host companion, Devon D. Decker is here.
I was really screw it. Set this up again, right? Like we're doing it live.
Do
Say
it!
that again, because I was gonna do a Shiva blast.
Oh my god, we're doing another one? Alright, welcome to the Say Report, everybody. My name is Siege and Sarwick, and of course my host companion here, Devon D. Decker.
Decker.
Sorry for anybody driving, but too bad. You're off in a ditch now. I was actually seriously considering changing it up a little bit and saying host compatriot, but you're right. Host companion makes it sound much more like we're in an intimate relationship, so I'm going to stick with that.
And if you've been listening to the first 29 episodes of the Say Report, Sejan and I are definitely in an intimate relationship. What that means, I'm not sure, but this relationship is definitely intimate.
Oh my god, there's so much tape before we started recording. I don't know where to start first. We did make an agreement before we started recording today, and I want everybody to be on the same page with us. We are not going to talk about Nazis this week unless they are the Nazis from Blues Brothers. That is the only Nazis that we will talk about this week. I made the mistake of bringing them up last week. Some shit went down over the weekend. We're not talking about anything else.
Are you saying that, like, you think that we're the root cause of that stuff?
I'm just saying.
Because you talked about an Ocean's 11's-esque heist from World War II?
Look, I said Nazi 3 times. They came up out of the underworld, and suddenly shit went bad this weekend. And I'm sorry for that, but we are moving on.
Nazi,
we are
the next millennium's Beetlejuice.
Yeah. So we decided that the safest that we could be is if we just focused on the Blues Brothers taking them down. Fucking Illinois Nazis.
Fucking Illinois Nazis.
You watched Blues Brothers 2000 twice today. Is that something that you really said to me?
Yeah, but I thought that was before in the safe time.
It was in the safe time, but I'm bringing it into the real time.
Yes, I did watch Blues Brothers 2000 twice today. I also watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Color of Money, Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping, and Renaissance Man.
Yeah, that's great. Blues Brothers 2000 twice, though. Why?
Because it was on HBO, and then it was on HBO too, right? As it finished up on HBO. And I was like, you know what? I never watched the end of this movie, which is why I watched all of the Blues Brothers 2000 the first time. And then I'm like, I'd like to watch this movie again.
So you never got to the weird voodoo dance at the end?
No, the weird voodoo dance. Funky Nassau is usually like where I check out.
Yeah,
like, that scene is fantastic in its insanity. Like, because it's freaking. First of all, they're there to audition for Queen Musette, right? Played by Erykah Badu, and that's their whole point of being there, right?
One of the greatest names to say in the world, Erykah Badu.
Oh, I thought Queen Musette.
Queen Musette is also really good, but Erykah Badu is a really good one. Yes, but anyway, keep going.
So they're there to audition for her Battle of the Bands, right? And
right.
She asked them to play something Caribbean, and then, like, literally one of the greatest scenes ever in bad cinema happens.
She thinks, I'll ask these 2 old white men to play me Caribbean music.
Joe Morton is with them at that point.
Joe
Morton is the reason why she's like, these guys probably know a steel drum tune or two.
Also, how to start Skynet.
Oh, no, but that didn't happen. Judgment Day got pushed back. How ironic is it that Sarah Connors is only invested in this because the Terminator is going to kill her before she does something that hurts it in the future, that then Sarah Connors herself wants to kill Miles Dyson because of something that he will do in the future that will affect the world. She becomes the very thing that she's fighting.
Oh my god, time travel makes my head hurt.
Oh, jeez. Okay. So back to it, right? So that whole Funky Nassau scene, she asked that, and then Dan Aykroyd does Dan Aykroyd's favorite thing to do in movies, which is to list off a long fucking list of things, and says, like, we can play literally every genre of music, but we don't do Caribbean. And then this witch, because she is an actual factual voodoo witch in Blues Brothers 2000. Spoilers for Blues Brothers 2000. A little bit late.
Yeah, there's a witch in it. I mean, like, that ruins the whole thing.
She's a 130-year-old voodoo witch, right? So they say that, and you're thinking to yourself, well, that's gotta just be fucking myth and legend, right? Because people are assholes, and they'll believe anything that they hear. No, you meet her, she's a 130-year-old voodoo witch. because she has fucking real powers. Oh, you don't have instruments? Wada, instruments. And then she asks them to play a Caribbean song. They can't do it, so she wada and makes them zombies, which is crazy.
Yep, she zombifies everybody there, yes.
No, she only zombifies Joe Morton, Dan Aykroyd, and John Goodman. She does not zombify the band.
So the band can magically play Caribbean music. It was just the three of them that were like, nah.
We don't sing Caribbean music, but the band knows it. But to be fair, that band is pretty awesome. Like, they're like, this is a blues riff and B, watch me for the changes and try to keep up. And then they invent Johnny Be Good. I've confused my movies. But...
Oh my god!
Rawhide, and I feel like they've never played the theme from Rawhide before. And then think about the best scene in the movie. The reason why I will always sit down to watch Blues Brothers 2000, because there's the legitimate a reason why I watch the movie, is Ghost Riders in the Sky.
Ghost Riders in the Sky is amazing.
Fantastic.
That scene is so good. Yes, that is an amazing scene.
And they turn to the band and they're like, "Sal booked us as a bluegrass act." And they look at each other and they go, "Riders." And then they turn to their band, who thought they were going to be playing a blues show, and go, "Give us a mountain tempo in A minor."
Yeah, they really are the unsung heroes of both of those movies, right? Like, the band is amazing. I mean, the first movie is all about them getting the band together. They are the plot line of the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they need the band, right? They're just
secretly the third Blues Brother.
Suits.
Yeah. They're nothing without these two.
So she zombifies them, and they sing Funky Nassau for an audition for her, right? And during the audition piece, Paul Schaefer, who is her valet,
oh my god, I forgot Paul Schaefer was in it.
Plays a keyboard solo.
Yeah.
So it's does this? I feel like this taints the audition just a little bit, right? Because we're not playing the solo part of this song. But then Queen Musette herself sings the third verse.
Well, and I was going to say, not only does she sing in it, she also is the reason they're even doing it, because she whammied them. So, she's kind of the whole reason the whole thing's happening. The audition's pretty much screwed at that point. She's just entertaining herself. She's just like, what can I do for fun? Because these white boys aren't going to do anything for me.
But then, you guys could be in the Battle of the Bands.
Yeah, but then she gets done.
For 3 minutes.
Yeah. Worst comes to worst, I could just zombify you all again, I guess.
Yeah, right? And then if you win, it's like quiz show, but with
man.
the bands.
Oh, man. I can't believe you just brought Quiz Show, one of my favorite movies, into a conversation about Blues Brothers 2000, one of the banes of my existence.
Dude, I didn't know that Blues Brothers 2000 was a bane of your existence when I watched it twice today. I'm not sorry.
I have seen Blues Brothers 2000 twice in my life. I saw it once when I was a kid and knew then that I didn't enjoy it. And I couldn't believe that Blues Brothers, which I had only just seen in the previous week, that I ended up loving, had led to it. The only other time I saw it was when I got much older, and somebody was like, "No, you're misremembering. That movie's actually really good." And I was like, all right, fair enough. I saw it when I was little.
I already apologized about that.
So I went to go see it again. And what I was not told was that it was a sing-along version of that movie. And there were some old dudes in suits dancing in the aisles to Blues Brothers 2000, and I will never forgive anybody that brought me to that.
That sounds amazing. That sounds like how I wish terrible. I spent my day.
Oh, it was terrible.
Okay, all right. So, God, I have so much to say about Blues Brothers 2000.
John Goodman looked better in the movie than these dudes did in the aisles. He looked like he was in better shape than.
All right.
And they practically wheel him around in that movie.
He's looking good now, though. Have you seen Atomic Blonde yet?
No, I've not seen Atomic Blonde yet. I'm going to do a makeup week where I see everything. I've also been told I need to see Valerian. I know I need to see Valerian. I'm listening, Dorothy. Stop yelling at the iPod right now.
You need to see Valerian.
Yeah, I know.
This is not Dorothy. Hi, Dorothy. It's been 2 years since I met you.
She listens and she yells at me.
Dude, makes sense. I listen and I yell. I don't even listen and I yell at you. I don't know what's happening. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, Blues Brothers 2000, right? So there was a song in Blues Brothers 2000, and it is just like one of these moments. Like, we podcast, right? And it was one of those moments where, like, the reason why I'm a podcaster, origins, the reason why I'm a podcaster is because I was listening to podcasts, and I kept saying to myself, I could do this, and I could probably do it better, right? Because hubris, right? Millennials. Anywho, but one of the times that, like, really was like, I need to seriously look into this is they were playing Leonard Maltin game on Doug Loves Movies, and the movie was Blues Brothers 2000. So he's looking through, and he goes, Leonard put the wrong number for the song, thinking that, like, so he thought that they sang 8675309, not 6345789. Like, and I get that he's a stoner, but, like, come on, dude. No music. And also, the 6345789 scene is, like, probably the third best scene in Blues Brothers 2000.
Is that the one in the mattress store or something like that? I just seem to remember a lot of, like, windows and painted numbers, and it has been a long time since I watched it the second time, right?
The mattress store is Respect, which is fucking the worst. Because, like, it's great that they get Aretha Franklin back as Mac Murphy's wife.
Right.
Like, that's fantastic. But in the first movie, she does Think, right?
Oh,
so,
God,
like,
yeah.
And that scene is amazing. The Think scene is great. It's one of the best scenes in the original Blues Brothers. And also, it's not a song that, like, when you think of Aretha Franklin, it's not like one of the first three songs that you think about.
Well, and that's the one that ends in the first movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the one that ends with the whole street scene and all that stuff? Like,
no, that's
like
Shake a Tail Feather.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So,
that
like,
first movie is just so good,
it's
though.
Fantastic. And someday, I hope that we dedicate as much time to Blues Brothers as we've dedicated to Blues Brothers 2000. Perhaps a very special episode somewhere down the line. Now,
it deserves it after this, but yes.
like, for a sequel that's, like, God, it's 20 years later, right? Blues Brothers 2000. For them to do, like, the fucking, probably her most popular song on Spotify right now, as the song that Aretha Franklin sings, feels so exploitive.
It feels cheap to me, is what it is.
It feels like exploitation, and it does feel cheap, right? Like, I don't know.
I'm down with exploitation. It feels like cheap exploitation. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, I understand you. Yeah. But yeah, so, like, that's awful. So that's the one that happens in the mattress store. 6345789 is at a sex line. Because it's the guy, I don't remember which one it is. It's the guy who was playing the showroom in the first movie.
Right.
They find him playing the showroom. He's running the sex line because the guy who was the maitre d' was the funeral director who gets the Russians on their ass. So much happens in Blues Brothers 2000 that's ridiculous. Like, also, like, they're kidnappers because they take the little boy.
Right.
And, like, that's, like, it's so weird. Like, it's like, why didn't you just adopt him?
Yeah, why? Yeah, I mean, that obviously ends up being the end of that story, right? Spoilers, I guess, again. But like, why did it have to be that they kidnap him at first? Like, why is it not just like, we adopted this kid, we don't know how to take care of him? Hilarity ensues. Yeah, the whole kid storyline in that movie is just terrible.
Right. That's, like, one of the things that you remember, but it's also one of those reasons why, like, that person who's like, you're misremembering Blues Brothers 2000 enjoys Blues Brothers 2000 because they gave that kid as a way for children to have access to that movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a weird choice, and where we have to live with it forever and ever and ever. But I still watched it twice today.
Nice.
That's the moral of the story. And Blues Traveler is in the movie, and, like, that also feels weirdly like exploitation. Not cheap exploitation, but, like, it's also weird because John Papa comes running up and he's like, hey, didn't you used to be Elwood Blues? And it's like, Dan Aykroyd, you wrote this movie, right? Didn't you used to be
Elwood Blues? Oh, man.
How about Ain't You Elwood Blues?
Yeah. Oh, man.
So
yeah,
the biggest moral of the story is we shouldn't allow Dan Aykroyd to make any more sequels.
No, he's he's out of his mind anyway. If you ever want to see how far down the rabbit hole Dan Aykroyd's gotten, look up it is an advertisement for Crystal Head vodka, but what it turns into is a 40-minute explanation of why aliens exist, and it's all Dan Aykroyd.
Now, when you say it's all Dan Aykroyd, is he playing all the parts?
No, I mean, it's not parts. It's just him just explaining to you that aliens exist and you should buy Crystal Head vodka.
So, like, Dan Aykroyd watched Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal
Nope.
Skull.
This
and
came out long before that. He honestly believes in aliens
So
and
Steven
honestly believes in the
Spielberg
crystal.
watched Dan Aykroyd's thesis movie on aliens existing, and we got Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He looked at Dan Aykroyd and he's like, "You want to write this movie for me?" And Dan Aykroyd's like, "Too busy making vodka and these alien skulls."
And Steven Spielberg's like, I can make a movie out of that.
Hey, I can do that. I can do that. Hey, I can make a movie out of anything. Just watch.
This is your yearly reminder that Jurassic Park and Schindler's List both came out in 1993. You're welcome.
Surprise.
All right, so that's Blues Brothers 2000, right?
That's what you did today.
I did a lot of other things, too, and I'd actually like to cycle back to Renaissance Man. But let's go forward, because I think we made a promise. I feel like we made a promise last week.
Did we make a promise?
This episode.
We're not good at keeping those promises, though, so I'm not too concerned if we don't. What promise did we make?
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this. I've been thinking about moving, but it turns out the place that I'm thinking about moving, it's not as safe as I once thought.
Oh, no.
It turns out that life is sometimes like a hurricane there. I mean, there's race cars, lasers, and airplanes.
That sounds like a
blur.
dangerous place.
And it's partly mystery, partly history. I mean, DuckTales. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Oh man, I didn't
really painted myself into a corner there.
I was really not ready for that, and I'm so sorry that you lost me. But I've been sitting here trying really hard to not crap myself. That was amazing. Good, very good. So we watched some DuckTales.
How many times did you watch DuckTales? Because before we talk about DuckTales, let's talk about Disney's marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay doing this?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Let's do this.
30 years ago, on August 12th, DuckTales premiered for the very first time. So to commemorate that, 30 years later, they showed the first episode of their new DuckTales series 24 hours long. So they showed it essentially 24 times.
And it was glorious.
Oh, it was great. Like, honestly, yesterday, and I tweeted this out, but I'm not ashamed to repeat it here. I came home from my day's adventuring. I grabbed a drink. I went to the bathroom, washed my hands, and I'm thinking, what do I watch now, right? DuckTales isn't on, and that is all I watched yesterday. What do I do? I turn on the TV. Frickin' DuckTales was on again. So I didn't have to solve that problem for another hour.
Nice. Yeah, man. They went all out with this one. And, you know, building up to even this was just a big thing for them. Releasing different character videos. I mean, releasing the cast singing the original theme song like 2 months ago. Like, they've been really, really getting behind this show. And I'm so happy they have. But I'm happy to say, after watching the first hour, I guess, it doesn't seem like they have stopped them from doing what they want to do, which is also really cool. It feels so good, Devon. I'm so excited. It feels like it's going to be a really good show. I fingers crossed that they do right by this, because the storylines that they've already started are amazing.
So my biggest issue with it is we don't get a new episode now until September 23rd.
Yeah. Well, they really wanted to hit that anniversary date, but they also really want to stick to their usual scheduling. So that's what you got.
Yeah. So because I watched it at least 5 times, right? And that's start to finish, tip to tail. I watched it 5 times, and I loved it. I loved it every single time. The theme song is still jarring every time, and I'd like to bring here as well. They say Tales of Daring, Do Bad, and Good Luck Tales the first time. So why do they got to change it the second time?
To be new, to be fun, to be exciting. I mean, who the hell knows? Music is always really weird, because for all we know, maybe they had to change it so that they didn't get sued by the original singer or something nonsensical like that.
That's true, right?
Right, like music law is so fucked up nowadays that they maybe had to change a lyric so that they could call it a different song in order to sell it again, you know?
Dude, and I can be completely honest with it, and that would justify the danger lurks instead of watch. But then for the tales of daring, do good at tales of daring, bad and good, not ponytail. It's just so like the beat of it doesn't make any sense to me, and I like music, Sejan.
Yeah, I like that this is going to be like that note that gets caught in your ear. What singer was that ended up like going insane because there was a note that like he couldn't stop listening to?
All I can think of is the Family Guy episode where somebody,
Oh God, what has pop culture done to us?
oh yeah.
Um,
But yeah, so I really, really enjoyed the show. That was jarring every time. But like I watched it. I loved every minute of it. I do feel like it was super truncated a little bit, where like the first DuckTales episode ran over 5 days, right? It was 5 episodes long. It feels like they still tried to pack in 5 episodes worth of exposition, but into the hour that they gave us.
yeah, and you know that always feels kind of. I always get that feeling from really early Disney stuff and I'll say shows in general. Like I always feel like that really early with shows. But what it is for me is when I go back like a year from now and I have the whole season that I know the story of, and I kind of see what they're hinting at and what isn't. Because what it is everything right now, everything feels like it was the start of a new plot line. But I bet you it's only going to be 2 or 3 things that actually carry through. So like there's this weird feeling where like you feel like, oh, every detail matters and they're throwing too many details at me at once. But later on, once you know the whole series, it might be easier to be like, I don't really need to worry about that. This I need to actually focus on, this I don't. And in that case, it might not feel like it's so packed full of information because once you realize what information is important and what information isn't, that might not be the case anymore. Because like I totally felt that as well, but I've also felt that with a lot of things that I've been watching over the last like year or so. Like as I've really kind of gotten into like binging a lot of stuff on Netflix, I've always felt like, man, they're really rushing this. Castlevania is a really good example of this. At first, when I watched the first episode, I was like, man, they're getting deep into this story real quick, and there's only 4 episodes. What are they doing? And then once I saw the whole thing, I was like, oh, that's because like 90% of the information in the first episode of Castlevania is good storytelling, but not necessary for me to like actually concern myself with, right? And so like, I feel like once we get more episodes and look back on this one, maybe that might change. But you're right, though. It feels like they're packing a ton in the first 40 minutes of this series.
So that's super interesting that you're looking forward, because I don't feel like I feel like the only dangling participle that they really left us with, like the one thing that's actually going to track through the series, is Della Duck, Donald's sister, and the mother of the triplets.
Oh my God, it was
like,
such a good reveal.
That was a great way to end the episode.
Yeah. The other stuff is not so on the nose, but I think that the differentiating the 3 nephews, they made a huge point of doing that, especially in the second half. And I feel like they're really going to go deep into, especially the Dewey-Scrooge relationship. Like the idea that Dewey is really looking forward to becoming somebody like Scrooge, and as we'll learn, Donald. But like, I don't think that Huey and Louie feel the same way, right? Meanwhile, Louie's whole relationship with I want to say Webby. Is it Webby or Wendy?
Webby.
It is Webby. For some reason, I was like, no, it's Wendy. No, it's Webby. All right.
Sorry, I was talking about Peter Pan.
Yeah, that same. And so Louie's whole relationship with Webby is also super interesting, and like the idea that Louie kind of has a little bit of a mischievous side to him, but it's super subdued compared to the other 2.
Well,
and then like Huey's whole like the way that he's going to become kind of the navigator for them and that sort of stuff is super interesting. So like I think there's a lot of stuff character wise there, but the other subplot that I'm super interested in them following more up on is what happened with Donald and Scrooge, and I think that's going to be tied into the nephew's mom and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, without question, I feel like that's the narrative.
But that relationship specifically, and seeing how that kind of like ebbs and flows, is going to be super cool. Which is like something I never thought I'd say about DuckTales, you know, like outside of like some of the comic stuff. But even then, they never got totally deep into it.
All right, so I want to go back to one thing. The thing I really like about Louie and Webby is the fact that Louie is clearly the youngest of the 3. Like he has that sort of Michelangelo vibe to him. Is how I'm going to describe it, because everything is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to me. So I think part of what also he likes about Webby is that it's the first time for him to be the authority on something, because he doesn't have two older brothers, even if it's by just a few seconds, throttling him down. And she is so wide-eyed and ready to learn that she'll look for advice from anybody. So he gets to be something that he's never gotten to be before, which is, again, great characterization.
Well, yeah, what it is, and this is going to be something that all three of them have to deal with, is they're actually, it seems like they're going to focus on the idea that all three of them need to learn the idea of responsibility, you know, and Huey might be a little further along than Dewey and Louie, but, like, this idea that, like, Louie's going to learn, like, what it means to be that older brother, I think, and that's going to be a really cool relationship to watch. And then, like, Dewey's going to learn that idea of responsibility when it comes to his mischief making and the whole, like, adventurous side of himself, and how he has to make sure that he doesn't, like, lose like friends and family in the process, which is exactly what Scrooge did and is hoping to make up for now, right? Like, there's this whole, like, weird, deep interpersonal relationship subplot with all of them that is just, like, this amazing thing that they set up in just 40 minutes.
Right, but so I guess what I was focusing on, the thing that just felt rushed, and it's only compared to, like, other narratives and other TV shows, is the reveal that Donald is working for Flintheart Glomgold. Because it's like, well, he just got the job. Like, if he'd been doing it for a while, then that scene when they're in the treasure room would have felt like more of a betrayal. And it also would have felt like Glomgold is actually, like, an actual, like, clever, conniving person. But because they truncated it all down into this intro woohoo episode, it just felt like it was quicker than it needed to be.
Yeah, no, for sure. The whole thing with Donald working for him was really weird, because even now, after watching all the way to the end, I can't tell if Glomgold knew that he was Scrooge's nephew and purposely hired him because of that. It feels like he did, and there's a moment where I felt like that was almost a justified thing, but it's actually never specifically stated that that's exactly why he hired him. And so, like, they completely rushed through that storyline.
Oh, no, it's explicitly stated, because he says he's been a model
model employee and now and a model prisoner. But that line is not clear enough for me. Like, I know that is exactly the moment where I was like, oh, this is it. But then I was like, where is it? Like, they don't actually just say it. Like, I want him to just, like, have, like, an evil moment. What I want him to have is, like, a Bond villain moment where he would have explained his entire plan. And he just didn't do that.
Bond villain moments, though, to be completely honest with you.
No, that's fair. No, that's fair.
And it's also, like, like, I think that the fact that also when Scrooge shows up on his boat, and he's like, I knew he would have to come, it's like, this guy's playing a long fucking game, right?
Yeah.
Like, he has to be. Because you don't know that Donald... I think it would be impossible if you know Scrooge McDuck not to know that he's related to Donald Duck.
Well, and especially if we're to believe that Donald and as we're going to find out, Donald's sister were, like, his sidekicks. So, like, of course he knows, right? Because they've been fighting for years, so at some point he must have come up against Donald Duck, right? So, like, this idea that this idea that he didn't recognize Donald as Scrooge's nephew is ridiculous.
The thing that I really like, though, is because, like, it makes perfect sense, and they have that great throwaway line about it, why Donald would go work for Flintheart Glomgold, because it totally plays into the whole, like, I can't keep track of all your sworn enemies.
Exactly.
Right? Like, that line is, like, it's such a throwaway, but at the same time, it's such this perfect thing where it's like, if I were not taking jobs from people because you've sworn a blood oath against them, I'd be unemployed forever.
Exactly. You hot-headed asshole. Like, yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfect moment.
And also, because of how much Glomgold feeds into the fact that he's Scottish, there's this little bit of me that hopes that, like in the original Carl Banks comics, he is from South Africa, but what he did to become the second richest duck in the world was emulate Scrooge McDuck right down to his heritage. Like,
that's phenomenal.
Like, I know that, like, they're probably never gonna deal with that, because saying that a character is from South Africa probably still touchy in 2017. Right?
Well, right. But they could say that he's not from Scotland. They could say that he's just not Scottish, like not be a complete erasure of his history, right? Like, and still say that he's faking the accent and faking the history in order to emulate Scrooge. They could totally still do that storyline.
Right, exactly. And I would love that, because, and there's also that great line where he goes, he thinks he's so rich and so Scottish, and it's just like, that's perfect. Like,
Yeah.
what better way to like cast aspersions aside from you pretending to be something?
Exactly.
Like, and it's just like, all right, this is a little one for me. This is me. This is my hope and dream, and I'll write it on a little piece of paper and I'll tuck it inside an envelope in my heart. And like, if it pays off for that eventually, it would be fantastic. But even if it doesn't, I like that the show itself has given me enough wiggle room to believe that after the first episode.
Yeah. So I've got some thoughts and some predictions regarding some of this stuff in the future. I think that Glomgold is going to be an important villain, but I don't think he's going to be as big of a villain as like they made him in this first episode. I think he's going to lead to a lot more, like a lot bigger stuff as we kind of get into it. So I think that that's why some of the stuff with him feels kind of rushed, because remember, as I was saying before, like some of it is probably not important information. So like Donald working for him is a great twist for this episode, but it's probably not going to be necessary for the larger season, because if the larger season is going to focus so much on the relationship between him and Scrooge, it was more important getting him back in the house with the boys and Scrooge. You know, and that's one of the big things that they said they were going to do with this over the old series, is they were going to make sure that Donald was more present. So like having him off working for Glomgold wouldn't have worked for more than a couple of episodes, which is what they did, right? At least for me. So I think that that's going to be one of the big things, is that you're going to find that Glomgold's going to be important, but not like the big bad. And on top of that, like the stuff with Scrooge and Donald is going to trump any possible like weird double play storyline that they kind of had going. Because I enjoyed it for the episode, but I don't know if it going on much longer than the episode would have actually like been fun for me.
Well, it's actually, you think about it, and what I'm actually thinking about is the reason that first episode of DuckTales takes 5 episodes is because they're trying to get to the magic number for syndication.
Mm-hmm.
So they're padding out these things. So like getting to Atlantis, instead of happening in one episode, like there's the episode where they have to get the submarine, and then like the submarine breaks down halfway there, so they need to like talk to some tribe, and then like old school animation, the animation that we grew up with, this episode would have taken place over 5 episodes. So unfortunately, that beat, right? Like, because it wouldn't be that Donald is off working for Glomgold for these episodes. It's that while Scrooge, over these 2 days, is taking these nephews on this great adventure, Donald is off starting his new job. And that's just it. It's just how animation has been able to change and grow, because we're not trying to pump out as many episodes as possible to ensure that they'll be playing forever.
Right, and that we're not thinking about like throwing it on a VHS later as a DVD, as a movie, right? Like that's not part of the marketing either, right? Because right now they're thinking we want this up on YouTube and we want people to be able to sit down and watch it. So 45 minutes is perfect for that.
Right, and we can tell a whole story in this thing. We don't need a filler episode to make sure that come the end of this series, we're not one away from that magical syndication.
Exactly.
And that's really what it is. So like, I'm complaining as a man from the past. I'm yelling at clouds, to be completely honest with you.
Oh no, I completely felt like as I was watching it, I was like, the kid in me really, really loves everything that's happening right now, but the old man in me is like really questioning choices that are made and stuff like that. Because like, I love the differentiating of the characters. I think making sure that the nephews have really good, clear-cut, different personalities was really smart of them, like right away. And I think Webby, and she's amazing in this first couple of episodes. I mean, watching her kick ass, and on top of that, her being the one keeping track of the whole family history. I think they do some really good establishing with her too. But like, the old man in me was just like, oh my god, all I can hear is Kate McCucci. All I can hear is Bobby Moynihan. All I can hear is like I can't stop thinking about the cast. I can't just focus on the show. But I'm so glad that they got the cast that they did, because like the stories that it feels like they really want to tell were going to be so key to making sure that you had the actors behind it that could handle that sort of stuff. It reminded me a lot of, honestly, when I first started watching Gravity Falls, and like, Christian Shaw is on that show, and Jason Ritter, who I actually really, really enjoy as an actor. And so like watching that show and having those two be the main characters was really hard at first, because all I could hear was Louise. All I could hear was every character Christian Shaw has ever played. And just for Jason Ritter, like, it's really hard for me to not picture a what is he, 30 years old at this point? Like a 30-year-old dude making that voice, but here it is coming out of what is supposed to be like a 10-year-old kid. But I got past that really quickly once the stories that they were telling required them to actually be able to, like, you know, shake and move in ways that better actors can. So, like, I'm super excited to see what they can do with the cast that they have behind this. So, like, again, the kid in me was super excited about all the possibilities, while the old man in me was just like, why couldn't they get No Name so that I wasn't thinking about the actors the entire time I was watching it?
Can I turn it over to the adult in me for my biggest complaint about the show?
Of course.
Or do you have anything else that you want
No,
to
no,
add
no.
before I go? My biggest complaint about the show is Danny Pudi as Huey. And it's weird that I would say that because I'm going to go a little off DuckTales right now, okay?
Okay.
Greg Garcia, creator of Yes Dear, My Name is Earl, and Raising Hope, has a new show on TBS called The Guest Book. Now, before we continue, you should be watching The Guest Book. If only because I don't want it to get canceled before he finishes a story. Please, America, let me get closure from a Greg Garcia show. This is me pleading from the Say Report that you go watch Greg Garcia's new show, The Guest Book.
The man deserves a finale.
She's just one. Anywho, The Guest Book, as it turns out, is sort of Twilight Zone-esque, in as it is a different cast of characters every episode, except for the locals. Like, the people who live in the town are the same. So, like, it gives a sense of, like, world building. But but every episode, someone else is staying in Froggy Cottage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did not know that when I first watched the show. And the first episode of the show is Danny Pudi with the girl from, I can't think of her name, and I really like her. She's the girl from Jurassic World. Natalie something. I can't think of her last name.
The one that gets 8?
No, does she get eaten?
In Jurassic
the
World?
control panel?
Oh, no. The girl in the control room.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
Control room.
No, she doesn't get 8.
So, and she is just terrible in that episode. And if she were every episode of the show, as much as I love you, Greg Garcia, probably couldn't have kept watching. So I'm glad that it changes every week. But Danny Pudi plays her husband. And that was something that, like, I was honestly a little bit nervous about watching him after Community. Because he really hasn't done anything outside of Community. I can think of, like, his small role in Winter Soldier, but Community was sort of his breakout.
I think he was in a straight to DVD road trip sequel at some point.
He was in Road Trip Beer Pong. He's pretty good in that too, but he's also sort of playing Abed Nadir.
Mm-hmm.
And watching him in The Guest Book, he is not playing Abed Nadir. And I'm like, good, this guy can actually act. I'm really happy that, like, Greg Garcia is the person he worked with who would allow him to not just play the same role, right? Which is really why I like him as a creator anyway, is because Greg Garcia finds these people who, like, you know Jason Lee from Mallrats and all the Kevin Smith stuff. We're going to turn him into Earl, and you're not going to recognize him anymore.
And that's going to kind of become, actually, probably the biggest thing he ever does with his career.
Yeah, and also, like, because you see him in Clerks 2. Clerks 2 was on last night, and I watched a little bit of it, and I'm like, you seem like a completely different person than the actor who was in Mallrats and Chasing Amy and Dogma.
Yeah.
Like, and it's crazy because that's after 4 seasons of Earl. That he's like a different person. So, like, it was great seeing Danny.
And 4 Chipmunk movies. Anyway.
There was only 3 Chipmunk movies at the time.
No. Well, that's true. I thought you were going to say that he wasn't in the second one, but he is in the second one. He's just in the hospital for most of it.
I was talking about the fact that Clerks 2 came out in 2006, and there were only 2 Chipmunk movies. I like that he's in the second one, but I understand why he's only in a little bit of it, and I'm glad he came back. But, you know, so, and I'm like, this is great, but I can't divorce Huey from Abed Nadir. Like, there are little things that he does that makes it feel like the character has, like, that OCD. Like, I don't want to say he's fully, like, an Asperger's character, but, like, him going back to wash his hands in the second part of that first episode feels like he already washed his hands once, but then he felt he had to wash them again.
Yeah, I think they're going to focus more on him being more like nerdy than being on the spectrum somewhere though. You know, like I don't think they're going to go full on. You're totally right though, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Is like it's really hard for me to divorce these actors from themselves, especially in the second half when they really get deep into kind of the boys' differences. It was really really hard for me to kind of like step away and not think about just the actors behind it. But again, like I totally recognize that that's just like the older dude in me that watches everything and takes in way too much for his own good, you know, because like the child in me could care less. Like I'm super excited to see these guys like actually get like really good deep like dialogue and storylines.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. And again, I think the bigger issue at play though is in the first half of it. I felt like Dewey really wasn't getting much to do. I hate myself for that. I'm like, wow, they're kind of like pushing him to the side. And then at the second point, he really takes center stage, and Louis has it too. But Huey really doesn't have much to go off of in that second part of the first episode. So, like,
True.
they're not. I understand that you're trying to define each character and make them unique, but I feel like, unfortunately, Huey feels the least developed for me, and that's why my adult brain is filling in with stuff I know about the voice actor and is making these little scenes that probably don't mean anything at all into what I've made them into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it wraps back around to what I said at the very beginning of this whole thing is like we just have to wait till we see more of it to really kind of get too deep into some of this stuff because what feels super important now is going to seem super insignificant after like 4 or 5 more episodes, you know?
Yes, and you're 100% right. That being said, if Hack, Slash, and Gabby McStaberson continue to work for Flintheart Glomgold in future episodes, that will upset me as both a child and an adult.
Oh yeah, no. I thought you were going to say okay. I want them to keep showing up, but you're totally right. They should not keep working for him. Or if they do, they need to very much build on the fact that they no longer trust him.
Yeah, because like he basically just tried to kill them, and then the people who were their adversaries. Spoilers for DuckTales, but like you're gonna know that before you listen to the episode, right? Because like god dang. On all I've done on social media is talk about DuckTales. So, like, if you're listening to this from me, you should probably know that. And your brother's been liking and retweeting everything. So, like, your friends probably know, too.
Yep.
Thanks, Zach. I appreciate it. But, like, really, like, once that happened, I'm like, this is great. This is the kind of thing that it is. But in all of the theme song, it makes it look like they are Flint Hark's lackeys going forward. And I'm like, please be smarter than that, right? Like in the 80s, it makes sense, right? But like he also doesn't value them in the very beginning where he was like, you're the best of the cheap. And then like he was willing to kill them and throw them away. So if they continue to work for him, I hope it just needs to be one line of dialogue to explain why.
And I hope that what it turns into is it turns into story fodder. You know, like later on, characters developing in a way. Like Hack and Slash could probably keep working for him and be the dum-dums like for a while, and I wouldn't mind. But what was her name?
Gabby McStaberson.
Gabby McStaberson.
Jennifer Hale.
Yeah, like if they can take her and really kind of go deep into that character and maybe make her like Black Widowish in some weird way.
Yeah, I mean, like that. I love that. Like one of the central tenets of being a fan of things is putting them into context of other things that already exist. Just like a funny thing of like what happens, so that like everyone can understand. But you're right. Like it would be nice.
It's just nerdy shorthand.
Yeah. Well, she's like Electra. Like Electra is who I. She reminded me very much of that character. But you know what I would like? I'd like if they're like henchmen all around town, right? So like.
They show up for everybody.
Yeah, so like if someone needs a henchman, they're going to show up for the call and get the job, and then it's going to go south, and then like, maybe we don't work for this person anymore, right? And then like, so, because then you build a relationship with these characters the same way that you built the stupid relationship with Bebop and Rocksteady, right? Like you still get to care about these characters, and they get to develop a little bit. And then, like a great payoff would be them trying to come and work for Scrooge. They're like, you're beating all of our employers. We'd like to work for you.
Yeah.
And then, like, maybe he takes it on, right? Because maybe he's mad at the boys that episode, right? They did something or they almost screwed something up. So they take it on. So the conflict is that, like, these three people, and let's face it, those three do kind of represent what the boys are a little bit, which is an interesting dynamic. If they were like being competent and the boys feel like they're actually going to be replaced, that's great. Like that's great for episode fodder.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see more. The series is like that's I mean that's the end, right? Like more please.
More please. September 23rd cannot get here soon enough. As we talked about, April 12th cannot get here soon enough. Now is April 23rd. Screw you, Disney XD. You're like a freaking crack dealer. My first taste was free, and now I gotta wait. And my teeth and skin are itchy. Which brings me to Renaissance Man, because screw a proper segue. I'd like to tell a story from the college days, if you'll allow me.
Do it up.
So I was watching Renaissance Man today, and Renaissance Man is one of my top 9 favorite movies. This is a list of movies that I built when I worked at Blockbuster because you needed to list your 9 favorite movies so they could be put into the employee favorite section. And I have not changed that list ever since I made it. So, like, it is 2002, Devon, 10th grade, 16 years old. These are my favorite movies. And you know what? I'll share them on like Facebook or something so you can see the whole list. Because why not, right? It should be fun to like look back and see what I thought were great movies at the time. So Renaissance Man is one of them. And as I watched it today, I instantly became that little Devon in 1994 who saw it in theaters. And I couldn't help but say to myself, if in 1994 like we had the social media that we have now, I probably would have tweeted something to the effect of, how can I be Danny DeVito from Renaissance Man when I grow up? So I was thinking about that.
You kind of anyway.
You can address that later, buddy. I'd love to hear it. But then I was thinking about this time as I continued to watch the movie when we were in college. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Theater 181 was script analysis, right?
Something to that effect, yeah.
I think it was 181 was script analysis, and 160 was stagecraft, but they might have been switched. Either way, it was a script analysis course, and they were doing Hamlet. And if you've seen Renaissance Man, what he does to teach these remedial students in the Army is he teaches them Hamlet. That's how he gets them excited about learning, and like that, like learning doesn't have to be what you've been told in school, right? You can be like your own individual still. So it's college, and it's Tony Estrella's script analysis class, right? And that guy's a hard ass, I have to imagine. Did you ever take a class with Tony?
No, I was too scared to.
Really?
I watched that dude hit a dude in the face with a keyboard. No, I did not need to go take a class with him.
I'm pretty sure you watched that dude get hit in the face with a keyboard.
No, that's what it is. Yeah, but he still got up. No, I'm thinking about that time he used a copy machine in that deleted scene from Underdog. Anyway.
Perfect Underdog reference. Yeah, like that. So yeah, and also he's like starting this whole trend where he gets beat up by Oscar winners because he gets beat up by Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea.
No shit.
Yeah. Right?
All right.
There's
well, gotta go see Manchester by the Sea. Yeah. All right.
So yeah, so it was Tony's class. Now Tony was one of those mystical characters in the annals of our theater program, right? Like you had David T. Howard, and then you had Tony Estrella. And like,
two sides of the.
I think they're the same person. I don't think I ever saw them together. I saw them together. I don't believe that they're the same person. David, if you've continued listening after our happy birthday episode to you, I want to stress right now that I know that you and Tony are different people. Otherwise, you are truly the evil maniacal genius I've always given you credit for, and you created a hologram to throw me off the scent. God damn it, now I'm not sure. Anyway,
you know how you put the brakes on a bit? You backpedal. Anyway, keep going.
Backpedal. Screw you. You were too afraid to take an acting class with the man. I just didn't want to have to take a second acting class to get to his. What are we talking about? Oh, so he taught the script analysis class this year. And friends of ours were in the course, so it's before it, and Hamlet is what the test is going to be on. And they're all in the lobby freaking out, like, "Oh, I don't know Hamlet. I don't know Hamlet. I'm gonna fail this test. I'm gonna fail this test." So I see these people, and I'm like, I can teach you all you need to know about Hamlet in 5 minutes. Guarantee that you get a perfect score on this test, or like whatever. I don't remember what I offered them, right? But I did offer them a guarantee that they would get 100 on that exam. And these people like allowed me to do it, right? Because I don't know what, I was so jingoistic in college. People would just listen when I called. Charisma, I miss you. Anywho, so I do this 5-minute like summation on Hamlet. Now I am admitting here for the first time that I have never read Hamlet. I have never watched start to finish any Hamlet movie.
Oh, come on.
My knowledge of Hamlet exclusively comes from 1994's Renaissance Man, starring Danny DeVito and a young Mark Wahlberg, later re-released as a drama titled By the Book. That's all I know about Hamlet. But I do this 5-minute Act 1, Scene 1 to Act 5, Scene 6 summation of Hamlet in 5 minutes. And in the middle of it, Tony Estrella slips into the back of the group that is watching with like bated breath me discuss Hamlet with them. So then it's time for class, and I stop, and he stands up and he goes, "All right, everybody, now it's time to take your test." And he gives me this look like, "Fuck you," right? Like one of those looks of like, "What are you doing? Who are you?" Because Tony Estrella didn't know who I was, right? If I were a third mythical creature in our theater department, it's strange that my Corbin Dallas never met his Gary Oldman from The Fifth Element.
Nice.
That was our first real interaction, was him walking in on me giving a Cliff Notes version of Hamlet to like his entire script analysis class. So then the class ends, and everybody's like, "Oh, that like, you really helped." Like people I didn't know, right, who were just like sitting there studying, were like, "Thank you very much for that. Like I felt real confident about it." Blah blah blah. And after the class, he comes up to me and he goes, "That was pretty good." And like that was it. Like that was the only interaction I had with Tony Estrella.
Oh God.
Up until like then, like eventually, like I think I had 3 other ones with him, but that's not important. That's not what this story is about. But I will tell you, Sejin, every single person who sat and listened to my bullshit about Hamlet got a 50 or lower on their Hamlet test. I am a monster. And I wish that were true. I have to backpedal and say that they all got perfect scores.
You're the worst. You're just the worst human ever. Oh my God, Devon.
But I do need to admit, I need to put it out there. So first of all, as you said in jest, I have already kind of gotten to be Bill Rago from Renaissance Man, right? I can check that off of the bucket list. They might not have been armies. They might not have been armies. They might not have been soldiers going through basic training. But I definitely taught these kids about Hamlet.
Nice.
And that felt pretty good, right? So, I don't know. I felt like telling that story. Because I'm watching Renaissance Man, and I'm like, I always like kind of wanted to be this guy. And for one brief shining moment, I was. And apparently in Sejin's eyes, I still am. Which we'll have to circle back to, Sejin. So I don't know what that means.
That might have to be for future episodes.
Oh yeah, we're not going to circle back to it now. We're leaving them wanting more. Mom?
Yeah,
All right, Siege. So I think I've said my piece on everything this week. Do you have anything that you want to send out to the loving ears of our listeners?
Oh no, just keep your eyes out. No, but keep your eyes out, keep your ears to the ground. We're going to be doing another very special episode this month. We've got an idea. We're just banging out the details, so that should be coming out soon.
Yeah, so that'll be fun, right? Another very special episode from your friends at the Say Report. In the meantime, if you want to give us ideas for what that very special episode could be, we can be reached at the Say Report on Twitter, or individually, I'm at Devon D. Decker.
And I'm at Siege versus the World.
And yeah, thank you very much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Stephen Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.